Hi there and welcome to this bonus episode of the Gazette's Hockey Inside Out Show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette and I'm joined by my regular partners here, former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champions, Chris Nyland and Rick Green. The refereeing in the Canadiens' 4-3 loss to the Rangers last Saturday in New York was questionable at best. Knuckles, what's your biggest concern about the state of officiating in the NHL today?
Hee-haw! Listen, I got a lot of penalties. I deserve the majority of them. I got screwed a couple times, but majority of them I deserved. Okay, 99.9%. I did some shit. What I saw the other night in a close hockey game was a referee, Kelly Sutherland, who injected himself into the game and made himself part of the show. We talked about it. Josh Anderson, that hit, he called him for roughing. Are you shitting me? I know what roughing is. I know what it is. That was not roughing. I know earlier in the game he got held or tripped. He went down and he had kind of looked at the ref and that pissed him off.
Yeah,
right?
He knocked on his butt by Kreider when he didn't have the puck and he complained to the ref. Yeah.
You're supposed to be, as an official, impartial. You got to have thick skin and let that shit roll off your back. And if you see a penalty, call it. Don't make one up. That was bullshit. And we look at later in the game, at the end there when they score, Yoel Armia getting tripped. The way they call these chintzy little penalties is something so obvious they don't call it. Just pisses you off. They got screwed. I know Marty doesn't want to talk about the officials and he can't because he'll get suspended, but I can't now. And it's brutal. The NHL always steps on its toe every time there's a game, a big moment. We look what happened in the playoffs years ago in San Jose, how that series turned on its head. Yeah, they try to do some things with video now to alleviate some of that and change it. But boy, if you see something, call it. Don't be looking. And I think that they look too much. There's two guys, so one guy calls a penalty, the other guy, I got to catch up maybe. I can't be a guy who don't call no penalties, and he calls everything in the game. There's got to be some of that, right? There's got to be some of that. So I just think what Kelly Sutherland did the other night was brutal. Guy's been around as long as he has. To have such thin skin, it's pathetic.
24 years in the NHL, Kelly Sutherland, 10 Stanley Cup finals. That looked like it was personal.
Yeah,
that was a penalty. Kreider flattened Anderson. He didn't have the puck. He had a reason to bitch at the ref, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have thick skin when you're a referee. But it looked like he took his personal conflict or upset and injected that into the outcome of the game, Rick.
Yeah.
And some of them do have some egos, and unfortunately, there's inconsistency. You can talk about the referees, I think, every night, and about this call or that call. Or you can knock yourself out talking about just how poorly they do the job and how the feel is for the game. And I have a real problem with the game and the way the penalties are being called. If you touch his hands, it's a penalty. If you push a guy from behind slightly and he falls down, it's a penalty. It's way, way, way too much, too extreme. Why don't they find that balance? I mean, if you look at the way that they call the games in the playoffs, it'll never get to that point. But if they could find a happy medium where the regular season they can allow guys to get involved, do some pushing, and as an ex-defenseman, that the area of concern that I have for the young guys playing there on the defensive side, you can't touch anybody in front without getting a penalty. And the result is you've got all these legs and bodies standing in front because you can't touch anybody. So allow more physical play into the defensive zone that will make it, more entertaining and better for the goalie and better for everybody in the game. So you don't end up dealing with this. Touched his hand, that's a penalty. You pushed him, that's a penalty. So the supervisor, whoever is, watching the games or watching over these guys, they've gone extreme as far as, what they call, what they don't call. And, it's unfortunate. New York was a disaster, and, those are seasoned guys that should know better, but unfortunately they don't.
Yeah, and then the other night too, right? Slavkovsky, that whole thing quick started. They give him the extra 2. He had 2 guys there. He had no helmet. He had his helmet ripped off, right? Yeah. And he gets the extra 2. And then in Boston, and I love linesmen, always have, always will. They're awesome. They got the toughest job. But, I think it all started with Kevin Collins. It all started with Bettman not wanting fighting in the game anymore. Kevin Collins used to get in and try and break up fights before they started, right? Mm-hmm. And it used to piss me off. He was the first guy to really do it. I think there was a directive from the league. If we want to get this on TV in the States, we got to cut back the fighting because, it doesn't look good for our game. And then all of a sudden we saw that. The other night in Boston, Jack Guy and Kastelik. Come on. What's the ref doing getting it? The linesman? Don't get it. Let them go. Let them go. But I don't think the league wants that in such the centennial game, this big game, all eyes are on this game. If there's a fight, it's going to look bad for the NHL. You know what? It looks bad when there's no fights in a game like that, to be honest with you. A rivalry game? Is that a rivalry game? And there's no rivalry there. Referees, God. Well, sometimes they listen. I know it's a tough job, blah blah blah, but when you put your personality into the game, no good.
Well, they're going to miss calls even with 2 refs on the ice. The game's so fast, happens so quick. But to invent the penalty, to get back at a player for something he said is so wrong.
Yeah, it sucks.
But the referees. Gary Bettman says they're the best officials in the world of sports. So as long as you don't admit there's a problem, you're never going to fix it, right, Rick?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, mate.
It's just extreme and inconsistent each and every night. And the league will never say anything negative that they're doing. They're the best referees we have in the world, and yet they're not held accountable for poor performance that they do over and over again. That everybody scratches their head and can't say anything about them because even though it's a legitimate complaint, they're not held accountable.
Well, say we knew that. That's how we avoided getting fined, by just answering every single question by I love the way our team plays, and I won't talk about the refs. But we did talk about the refs. Anyway, that's it for this Hockey Inside Out Show bonus episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. Go to MontrealGazette.com/newsletters to sign up for the Hockey Inside Out newsletter. And you can go to HockeyInsideOut.com every day where you will get all the latest Canadiens news. Also, if you have a bonus question you'd like Rick and Chris to answer in a future episode, please put it in the comments section below.